Hello and welcome to episode 57 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're a source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're just two regular dudes drinking irregular beer and talking about Magic the Gathering, and in particular, it's not really fair to call it a new client at this point. Their online client, MTG Arena.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. It still has some problems, but hey, we still love it.
I mean, I still don't know if it's still in beta or if it's officially out of beta, because it was in beta for an outrageously long time. But
I'm pretty sure we've been out of beta since Eldraine, but who could know? And this week we're talking all about the newest format on Arena, which is Alchemy. It's the hottest news. I don't know why that's funny, but we're going to talk all about that and kind of give our impressions of actually playing the format, because we haven't been able to do that yet. But first, each week we both bring a beer and then we drink our own, except for, never mind, we're not doing that this week. Jeff.
Nope.
Jeff brought 3 beers for us. Hooray! Yay!
That's
Jeff.
right. So this week we have what I'll call it an accidental tap takeover. So if you listened to last week's episode, you'll have heard that I was in Hamilton last week, dog sitting for a friend. And so while I was there, I was like, I'll just go pick up some local beers in Hamilton that are a little harder to find in Toronto, bring them back, and we can do them on the show, which I did. But I only bought 2 of each beer. So if we were to use our normal system, I would have needed 4, because I would need 2 for me and also 2 for Zach. And I just bought 2 of a bunch of different kinds of beers. The funny thing is, too, I was standing in line in the bottle shop waiting to buy it, and I was like, how many do I need to buy? Just 2, right? Yeah, that makes sense. 1 each. That's okay. That's good thing I thought about that. I bought the correct number. And then as soon as I, was about to hand them off to you, I was like, wait a minute. I don't have anywhere near enough.
It's all right. It's not like numbers are your profession or anything. It's totally fine.
Yeah, it's not like, that's what I hang my hat on.
So this week, instead, we decided we were just going to do a tap takeover of one of the breweries that Jeff had found. And we're going to drink 3 of their beers together. And then at the end, kind of decide which ones were our favorite, or which one is our favorite. I guess rank them all. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I did get a nice little selection here. We have a few different kinds of beer, so at least that's nice.
So, Jeff, do you want to introduce us to the brewery that you found and the first beer that we're drinking?
Totally. So, the brewery we're drinking from today is called Fairweather. As I mentioned, it's in Hamilton. And it's actually a brewery that's kind of been getting a lot of buzz over the past, year or so, I'd say, in Hamilton. But my parents-in-law live in Hamilton, and I visit them often, but this brewery is not particularly close to where they live. So I haven't actually had a chance to go out there before, I was there this past week. So I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm finally going to go try Fairweather. People talk about it a lot here. If you just Google Hamilton breweries, this will probably come up as the top rated one. And so I went there and I just picked up a few different things for us to try.
Yeah, and might I say, the cans look beautiful. I really like the style of it.
Yeah, and I know it's probably the cheaper way to do it, but I kind of like these silver cans with just a label that's stuck on outside. I think it looks kind of cool whenever breweries do that. But
yeah, absolutely. This is I think I've talked about this in the past, where I had a pet peeve. This was a long time ago. Back when we did the podcast in person, I had a pet peeve about cans that have this plastic wrap that's around it, and you can feel the seam.
Yeah.
But that's the ones that go all the way to the lip, and they kind of look like they've been shrink wrapped in this thing.
Yes, yeah.
So I agree with you. I do kind of like the silver cans that they just put their sticker on, and I think this one looks really great. I like it a lot. All right. Did we talk about the physical beer that we're drinking?
We didn't actually talk about
All
the
right,
beer.
Let's talk about the beer.
So we're starting with a beer called Menagerie, and it's a single hop pale ale, and it's 5.4%. So you guys probably know by now, I'm a big fan of anything that's just I just want an ale, or just a pale ale. Sometimes I don't need it to be a double dry hopped triple IPA or something. Just give me a pale ale as one of the first things I'll try from a brewery. And this takes it a step further by only using mosaic hops. So instead of single hop pale ale, they only use one kind of hops. So you can really taste that hop in particular and kind of their base beer that they're putting it in. Bellwoods actually does this a lot. They have a beer called Monogamy. And they have different versions of Monogamy where they'll have Monogamy Citra, Monogamy Mosaic, Monogamy for each of the different hops. Where they just use one.
Oh, is that why they call it that? I never knew that.
Yeah. It makes sense, right? Now, this one, I think menagerie means like a whole bunch of different things, so it's kind of weird. They went the other way with this one, because to me a menagerie is like an eclectic group of animals, basically.
Yeah, right? But, all right. Well, maybe it's an eclectic group of animals likes to drink this beer. So...
There you go.
Boom. There we go.
And then the art is like all octopi. Octopuses?
Octopussies? Octopi.
Yeah, probably not that.
Well, according to James Bond it is, but I'm pretty sure it's octopi.
Who might argue with him?
But yeah, it's great. I really like it. So I'm excited to taste this one, and I'm excited to taste the other ones we have coming up. But we have some magic news. Alchemy, like I said before, has officially launched on Arena, and it actually felt pretty smooth. Our launch days were good. I was not expecting it to be a smooth one. We've had some kind of rocky launches recently, but this one seemed seamless, actually.
Totally. And there was some change of quality of life changes, it seems. It came with the deck building when they introduced Alchemy into the deck building. They moved some stuff around and did some other stuff too. So I had no problem. I jumped into a few games on Thursday. Not right away as soon as the thing dropped, but I managed to get them and didn't notice anything. So
yeah. With that, one of the big changes that happened is we have a new play blade, which I forgot we were working on this. This is something they said we were going to be working on back in February of last year when Call Time was coming out. This play blade rework was on the horizon, and it's come out. So Jeff, there's a lot of drama around the play blade. And if you don't,
how could there not be?
If you don't know what the play blade is, it's the thing where you hit play and then it kind of makes you choose what format you'd like to play. And before it was just this big list of you'd have to just pick a line on the list. And now
it seems arbitrarily sorted before.
Exactly. And now it has an events tab and a most recently played tab and a bunch of different things.
Best of 3 or best of 1 and historic Alchemy.
With a big star by Alchemy just to make sure that you play it and all that kind of stuff. So, Jeff, what do you think of the new Playblade? Are you pro or against?
I liked it, but it did throw me off at first, because at first I just double-clicked play, and then I was like, wait, what the hell am I queuing for right now? Because it made me jump in to select a deck, and it wasn't letting me select what I assumed it would let me select. So I had to go back, take a step, and figure out what's going on with it. But I think it's fairly intuitive. It didn't take me long to figure out how to play a ranked best of 3 Alchemy match.
Yeah.
With that.
I agree. I think that I also had a little trouble with something that's new because it's new. So, of course, I don't really know how it works and I have to figure it out. The thing I thought was really interesting is that if you want to play the play queues, that is the easiest thing to do because you kind of pop up right into non-ranked play. And then you have to specifically click the ranked one, which is on the side, and then events are on the other side or something like that. And I had played in the play queues a lot. And there were a couple matches where I thought it was a match, but it was a best of 1 because I had clicked a couple other things and forgot I had to click the best of 3 or best of 1. So I think it's more of it did throw me off, but I don't think it's something that's going to throw me off long term. I already kind of think I figured that out, and I'll be fine now.
Exactly.
So yeah.
It'll be a month or 2 down the line. We'll be can you believe that it used to just be a random list of all the options, and you had to know where the option you wanted was in that list?
I mean, I like that the event...
Was it alphabetical or something? It made no sense.
It was kind of
traditional standards down here.
Yeah, it was very strange. And saying traditional versus just regular? Did they even say? I can't even remember what the other...
Traditional meant best of 3, so it used to say standard and traditional standard.
Right. And now it literally says best of 1 or best of 3, which is helpful because talking to newer players who have played, I'll be like, oh, are you playing best of 1 or best of 3? And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, well...
I clicked standard. I play standard.
I play standard. And I'm like, yeah, but the traditional standard is best of 3, and that wording is strange. Now, they still have it when you're queuing up to best of 3. It will say traditional standard, whatever. But...
in your, decks, when you're making a deck, too. If you want to, you can make a standard deck or a traditional standard.
Exactly. So it's not that they really completely reworked it, but it does seem a little bit more intuitive to know which one you're playing and see that though you can toggle between them. So
I did think it was funny that I was able to build a traditional alchemy deck when the format was an hour old, but how traditional is this really?
Yeah, is it really that traditional? I also think that having the events tab as a separate thing that kind of looks like a bunch of your decks, and you can just see all these boxes of stuff, we won't have the same problems as not knowing where to draft. Do you know what I mean? Right. Sometimes there was the draft or the sealed thing's gone. I don't know where to find it. And you had to toggle between new player mode and advanced mode or whatever.
Yeah, getting rid of that was a huge boon because there used to be this button of all play modes versus arena play modes, and I still don't know which one was which.
It would just
I just knew that I had the right one on for myself. Yeah, but it confused the hell out of me at first. I was like, "Where are the formats I want?"
It was so.
And there's this innocuous button that has 2 options that are kind of unclear on what they mean.
So. This is much better. And also you see the events more often, which they always have standard and historic events where you can just test stuff out and try to get gold or whatever. And I just never remember that they're an option because I don't look up there. I don't go that high on the play blade usually. So yes, I am happy with it. And that's probably enough talk about that. But we do have some big news coming up with events that talk about events. That's why I was talking about events earlier. I just wanted to make sure we got into this events. But
segue.
We have a decathlon coming up.
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, I guess it's kind of Greek themed because we're the arena, so that would that makes sense, right? Yeah. Anyway, oh no, it's because there's 10 events. That's why. So from December 18th to January 1st, every 3 days, there will be 2 events that you can join. Wow, that's a lot of numbers. But basically, from the 18th to the 1st, there will be 10 different events. And they range from super competitive to super casual. And they basically are best of 1 or best of 3. And if you spike it, so if you get 7 wins in best of 1 or 5 wins in best of 3, then you get a decathlon token. And then if you get 3 of those tokens, you could be entered into the finals, which are in January, where you could play Arena Cube trying to get the highest wins and get the ultimate prize of 1 complete set of Neon Dynasty. 1 of every card. Wow. You don't get a play set, you get 1 of every card, but still, we haven't had this on Arena where you get a whole set of cards.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think that's sweet.
Yeah, as soon as Neon Dynasty drops, I guess you just have 1 of each in your collection.
It just goes into your immediately. So, constructed players, this is definitely something you're looking for because it won't take any of your wild cards. And you even get rewarded wild cards in the finals. So, that's pretty sweet.
You get a bunch of stuff. You get draft tokens. You get the unhinged basic lands if you make it to the finals.
That's sweet.
And get 2 wins. You get a few wild cards no matter what. Or maybe you have to get 1 win for the wild cards. But and you get a Jace the Mind Sculptor avatar if you get 6 or more wins. You get a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of cool stuff. And basically, throughout the different formats, they range from a bunch of weird stuff, from just standard and alchemy, historic, to singleton and turbo drafts and phantom drafts of Crimson Vow. I think, Jeff, my favorite one is it's just a format of you pick one of the 10 new player decks, and then you just try to win.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. Yeah, as you mentioned, they're all in like 3-day
Chunks.
packages, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like there's 2 events per 3-day pack chunk, and it seems like they did a pretty good job of pairing like something for a competitive player with something for the more for fun players in each chunk.
Yeah.
So you said they range from like casual to competitive, and it's also they've kind of paired them up. So like the first one is, well, you could play Alchemy if you want to play a bit more. I guess this one is like the least of it, but there's Alchemy, and then there's Sealed, which is half Midnight Hunt and half Crimson Vow. So like Alchemy is the format that people would have practiced and would have decks that they got off the internet for and would take seriously, and then this sealed format is something no one will have played probably.
And I think one of the best things about this event is that it's really cheap. So it costs 2,000 gold or 400 gems to enter these decathlon events. Yeah. That's amazing. Those are just like some of the regular random events they used to do, or like Friday Night Magic stuff. It's not going to be the same amount of like the cost for an arena open is much steeper. Like the amount of bullets that you have for this thing, you know, you have 10,000 gold, you could draft once or play in 5 decathlon events. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, those first 2, I would, if I had time, I'd probably play in both of them. Just the Alchemy one and this Phantom Sealed with 3 of each.
Yeah.
And so then I'll do my new player decks right after that, and I'll get my 3 tokens. There you go.
Boom. There you go. And then you get entered in the finals. So if you get more entries into the finals the more you finish. So if you get 3, you get 1 token into the finals. If you get 6, you get 2. If you get 8, you get 3 tokens in the finals. And if you get 10, you get like... if you get 10, you get to be in the finals 3 times. And you get qualified for the qualifier weekend in February.
Oh.
So like...
Yeah, getting 10 is a little crazy. But
so if you...
playing in all of the events.
But if you like...
And doing well.
Spike the whole thing... If it's like, hey, you don't need to play ladder to be in the qualifier thing, hey, play this decathlon. Go ahead. I think that's...
Yeah, true.
It seems like a sweet event, except for the fact that it is the worst timing ever.
Yeah, it's literally over, the holiday break. So
it's for me, it's literally like the first day I have off from work, so I have to go do holiday stuff until basically when I come back and am working again. Right. It's like, come on, why did you do it now? No one has time. What are you talking about? This is not the holidays. Oh. Why couldn't this
it's
literally
gonna be at your family dinner with your phone under your table?
Yeah, exactly. Just like trying to get my 7 wins. It's once again, Wizards has the worst timing ever. They put everything on the same weekend or the tournament right before the new set comes out. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. They must have a reason, but I don't understand what that reason is.
Yeah. But hey, for anyone who is, not busy during these times, this is great.
That's true. Hey, all right. Flip side of that. If you don't have anywhere to be, or you're being safe and staying home and you're skipping the holiday season, you're not going to see anybody, this is a really good thing to do during that time. To keep your mind off of what the world is right now and all the new variants. You can be like, sick, I am going to stay home and play Magic and try to spike all these and qualify for this tournament. There you go. All right. I found it. I found the flip side. Yeah. That's why...
And just like play some fun Magic too, like you said, you actually get to compete against, other people with the new player decks, which, never thought I would do that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair...
like historic Artisan in there, some old draft formats.
Yeah. It seems sick. There's a turbo draft for Strixhaven, which is awesome. If you haven't turbo drafted before, I am a fan because I do like it, but it's so weird. It's the weirdest format.
I didn't even know what it was until talking to you about this event.
Yeah, so Turbo Draft...
That's like the ultimate one. That's their last format, is Turbo Draft.
So Turbo Draft is where every card that you play is 5 generic mana less than normal. So it makes all of your, 4 and a green cards, or 5 and a green cards cost 1 green. And you're like, sick. And anytime you have a 3 mana rock, it's just a
just a freebie. It's
just a freebie.
Mox.
It's just a Mox. You're like, sick. All right, throw these moxes out in my hand. I'll tap these, play something. You get a bunch of free spells. Your mascot exhibition only costs 2 now. It's amazing.
It's cool to do it with Strixhaven because there's so many gold cards that there will be less 1 mana stuff and a lot of 2 mana stuff.
Or it'll just make all the 1 mana or 0 mana cards very good, and all the other ones not very good. I think that's what
whatever you learned during Strixhaven draft is no longer true, except that mascot exhibition is the best card in the set. That's still true.
That, and then Poet's Quill is going to be... Oh, no, because you still have to pay for the equip cost. Never mind. Don't think about that. But yeah, I'm excited for that because it's always a... Turbo Draft is a weird format, and I did a lot of the Ikoria one, so I want to do some more of just something else, you know. Anyway, Jeff, we've been talking about Magic news for quite a while, so I think we should jump right into...
Yeah, that's the longest Magic news segment ever.
I know, we've had some new stuff, and it's, you know... I'm excited for this decathlon, and I hope that this one goes well, the one that I probably won't be able to be a part of, so that there will be another one at an appropriate time where I can actually be a part of it. So
I'm going to try to squeeze in an event or two, but I don't know if I'll be able to either.
I might at like the airport or something, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get into our main topic for the evening, which is, of course, alchemy. So first off, Jeff, how does the format feel to you?
So that's all I've played since it dropped. Not that I've been playing like more than usual or anything. I've been spamming it, but that's the format I play when I log in. Mm-hmm. And I found it been really fun. Like, it's been fun to explore a new format. Like, new formats are always fun, right? When people are playing their wacky homebrews against your wacky homebrew, it's always a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think? Have you been playing it?
I have. I've been having a great time. It was really fun at the beginning because it's such a new format. There aren't really any deck lists to just, like, copy. There were a lot of standard, just straight from standard decks, just kind of put in, except for they added their, like, Inquisitor Captain or something, which I started doing.
Yeah, that's like the natural place to start, right? Just take a standard deck, whatever card you think is good from the new releases, and jam it in.
Yeah. So I basically did that and was playing mono white. And then there were a couple cards that, like, hosed me really hard. And I was like, what is happening? And I was really confused.
Wait, what does this card do?
Yeah, and there was a bunch of...
Does that card really just say fuck mono white?
Yeah. So that happened a few times. And they weren't even, like, alchemy cards. They were just regular standard cards nobody plays. I'm like, wait, this card fucks my whole strategy up. How have I never seen...
Because it does nothing against Alrund's Epiphany.
Exactly. Because I was playing mono white, and then someone was playing a strict proctor against me.
Oh yeah.
I was like, none of my cards work on curve. What is that? Hey, this card enters the battlefield. Nope, you can't get an anthem effect. You can't O-ring my creature.
Blocks your Thalia.
It blocks cleanly with Thalia. It's so annoying. It was like, oh, okay, Spellbinder's useless, except for, I guess it just trades with the Spellbinder. Like, it's... I was like, what the fuck? So...
I totally forgot about that card.
It was really annoying because it was like, oh, they always had it on turn 2, and then I always had an Inquisitor Captain in my hand. I'm like, I can't play this card.
This doesn't do it.
It's 4 mana, 3/3 Vigilance. I don't want.
I mean, Inquisitor Captain showing up is going to push people more towards anti-ETB.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And then you realize a lot of mono white is ETB stuff. So.
I was running into a lot of... I actually didn't run into a lot of people who just poured it over their standard deck, but oddly enough, the most common version of that for me was mono green, where they jammed Garruk into it. That was like the most common people porting their standard deck over that I ran into.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good.
Yeah, there were a couple times I would see things, or I was trying to follow some stuff on Twitter to be like, what should I play? And it was like, oh, you should play this Garruk. And I was like, I don't want to craft that.
I felt like every time they played Garruk against me out of that deck, I always felt like even with the nerf, Asika's Chariot would have been better. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly like the nerf to Asika's Chariot already feels like it kind of neutered mono green a little bit, because that was how they would do it. Is like you'd trade for their 2-drop, trade for their 3-drop, and then they'd slam the Chariot, and you're way behind. And now it's like they slam the Chariot and whatever, or they slam a Garrick and again whatever.
Totally, yeah. So with the nerfed cards, have they done a good job?
So I think the nerfs have been awesome. The first and most important thing is that I don't really run into people playing Alrund's Epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 1 or 2 people that did, it looked really bad. Like, it is... What I didn't realize when I first read the nerf is that even if you copy it, the copy doesn't make Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, the combo is just totally neutered. So there's really no reason to play the like Galvanic Iteration Alrund's Epiphany combo, it feels like. So anyone who would be playing Alrund's Epiphany is trying to use it a little more as intended, where you just ramp into a battlefield and like take an extra turn. And in general, that's a bit lame. I still think Asika's Chariot is a good card, and Goldspan Dragon's still good, obviously, but I'm not seeing them everywhere. Like they're not dominating the metagame by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Goldspan Dragon the most, I think, and it doesn't make me want to rip my hair out when I see it. It's like, sick, that card's really good. I'm probably still going to lose, but I can kill it right now, and they can't counter, which is great. And I don't see it in that deck as much. In like a counter.
Feels nice being rewarded for like holding up a kill spell for the dragon, and they tap out for it, and you kill it before combat, and you don't end up way behind.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah, so I've been happy with that. A note with the Alrund's Epiphany, I have run into that deck a couple times. However, they still keep in the Galvanic Iteration for a Foretold one just to take some extra turns, but it seems like I was playing against someone at least that was using the Galvanic Iteration on just kind of any card that seemed good to copy. So their whole deck is just, let's copy a ton of stuff. And so then the range of things it would do opened up drastically, and it became a really interesting deck to watch because it didn't really feel like I either copy the discard a card, draw a bunch of cards, make a bunch of treasure thing, or Alrund's Epiphany.
Unexpected Windfall.
Yeah, Unexpected Windfall. But they are playing like the 2-mana 1/3 that when it ETBs, it's the blue one that makes a card in your hand cost 2 less forever.
Right, yeah.
Or perpetually, sorry. And then it's classic. I don't know what any of the cards are called. But there's one that's like, oh gosh. Let me look it up because I'm definitely... I need to know what it actually does and not just pretend like I know what it's actually doing. Okay. So this isn't like a nerfed card, but this is one of the new cards that they added. And of course, I don't know the name of it, but I found it, and it's called Discover the Formula, which is 4 blue for the instant that lets you seek 3 non-land cards. Then non-land cards in your hand perpetually gain. This spell costs 1 less to cast. And this becomes a huge target for the Galvanic Iteration.
Oh, copying this is insane.
Because you get to do it twice to all the cards in your hand, and then everything costs like nothing. And the biggest thing with this is that it's an instant, so you can do it whenever you want to.
Yeah, like when your opponent iteration and then casts this, I've already forgotten the name of the card.
Discover the formula.
Your chances of winning feel pretty similar to when they would copy Alrund's Epiphany.
Exactly.
You'd still be like, well, I can't win, like because they're untapping with 6 new cards that all cost 2 less or whatever.
Basically,
so
yeah.
3 of them only cost 1 less, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah, it's crazy, and I want to talk about the blue-red decks a little later for sure, but they're not gone, but certainly they don't really play Alrund's Epiphany anymore, so.
Yeah. Or if they do, it's not the same chokehold that it used to be.
Right.
So kind of
if they play it, it's almost to buy time, right? More than to win the game with it.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think overall they did a good job with the nerfs. I will say I tried to build a couple of Omnath decks, and Omnath sucks. There's no 2 ways about it. He's bad.
Omnath is
I've cast
bad.
him several times. I've I've done the crazy shit where I go with Cultivator Colossus and drop all my lands, and Omnath gets the full trigger, and I was still like, well, Omnath didn't really help me win that game. Like my Cultivator Colossus won me that game, and Omnath was there and like did 4 damage to them, and I gained 4 life. You know? Like, it didn't. It felt real bad. Like the combination of an extra mana and the not replacing itself and only scrying was just like, I play Omnath, they trade with it, and you know they really owned me because I paid 5 mana to scry. You know.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
that ban certainly worked, or sorry, that nerf certainly worked.
It definitely does. It's also kind of high on people's radar of like, kill that card. If someone starts playing a land deck, you're gonna see Omnath and you need to kill it.
Well, the best thing Omnath did was I won a game because my opponent shouldn't have killed my Omnath, and they did.
So there you go. So maybe we're going to start to see it will slowly change where it's like, oh, Omnath isn't really worth it anymore. And we'll look out for the other key pieces. So that's kind of fun.
It's a real eye-opener when you're building your lands-themed deck, and they put the Omnath goes in the same like mana value pile as your Ren and 7, and you're just like, wait a minute. No, wait. One of these cards is much better than the other one.
Is not. So overall, it does feel like it is super fun. I don't know. All the new cards I've played with have been great. I have a story for later, so we'll get to that. But I've had a ton of fun with all the new cards. I don't even know all of them, which makes them super fun. People cast stuff, and I have to read things again, which is always a joy. It's probably my favorite thing about Commanders when people play cards and I don't know what they are. So kind of having this sense of, yeah, I know the standard cards really well. I kind of know the alchemy cards, and I go to it, and it just feels kind of like this crazy format that I don't have a handle over. And cards will come out of people's hands where you're like, what? Did you play? And you're like, oh no, they drafted that from that card earlier. And you're like, that's not even legal in the format. How did you do that? You know?
This guy's over here playing Giant Spider.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? And it just, that is just so much fun to me. I love that. So that's great.
One of my favorites is Grizzled Huntmaster. My opponent played that against me, and there's just like a minute pause, like I'm roping while I'm trying to figure out what the fuck this card does. 'Cause it's like,
I still don't know what that card does.
So basically, it turns a creature in your hand into a creature you own from outside the game. So it could be something that you've exiled previously, or it can be
in your sideboard?
Something from your sideboard.
Okay.
Yeah. So it then gives you the option to remove all copies of that creature from your deck, which feels a bit extra. It doesn't really feel like they needed to do that. But then, however many of them came from your hand, you get to tutor that many creatures from outside the game. So if you only had 1 in your hand, you only get 1 creature. But if you had 2, then you're replacing the 2 creatures that were in your hand.
Okay.
So you can be like, I'm going to remove Lotus Cobra from my deck. I happen to have 2 of them in my hand, so I go get 2 creatures out of my sideboard, whatever. And so that's where I think it's most useful, is if you have mana dorks and you don't want them late. You hold them in your hand, you play this, and you trade them for some big, bomb in your sideboard. Like, I was using it for my Cultivator Colossus out of the sideboard.
Oh, that's cool.
Turn some crappy, like, Tangled Florahedron into a Cultivator Colossus.
Okay, that seems nice. Oh, I like that. That's kind of like the first thing it makes me think of is like persistent petitioners. If you like pull all of the persistent petitioners out of your deck, which is like your whole deck, and then you're just left with lands, I guess.
Right.
And
Combo.
There seems to be some weird combo in there. But okay, I like that. I like the continued of trying to figure out how to make cards better in the late game that are kind of useless.
Yeah. It's really confusingly worded, but what it does is not that confusing. The only weird part is it lets you, like, cranial extraction yourself.
Yeah. Cranial extraction
but when my opponent,
myself.
Yeah. But when my opponent casts it, I thought they got to tutor for each card they removed, even from their deck, not just from their hand. I was like, this is fucking busted. He gets to trade like some shitty creature in his hand for 4 creatures he has in his sideboard. What the fuck is it? And then he only got 1, and I was like, oh, I see. Only the ones that were in your hand get replaced.
Yeah.
That would be so ridiculous.
That would be ridiculous. But
the cards are fun though. Like, I haven't seen any of the new cards where I was like, I hate this. You know, like that I've actually played against or with in a game. The worst thing that can happen is that they're a little confusing, and when they're on the stack, it can be hard to figure out what's going to happen if you've never played against it before. But I think a lot of Magic cards are already like that.
I was going to say, to be fair, a lot of Magic cards are kind of like that, and you can be like, this one's not going to be that bad. And then it comes down, and you're like, oh, it's really bad. Whoops.
Oh,
that's what it is.
I should not have let the Cultivator Colossus resolve.
Yeah, it had a lot of lines of text, and I didn't read them, so... But
I just saw like Star or whatever.
Exactly.
Star Trample, no big deal.
Does this format, number 1, feel different than Standard? And number 2, does it feel close to other digital card games or too close? So what's the scale? Is it closer to Standard or closer to other digital card games that we don't necessarily want to name?
Right. I haven't found that it feels like some of these other games where it's like it still feels like Magic to me.
Yes,
for sure. The randomness is there, but for the most part, they do a good job of like not making it explicit. Like it's not like deal 3 damage divided randomly. You know, which occurs in some of these other games, and you're like, oh well, that I had no real control over. Here, the randomness is like when you draft a card, you get a choice of 3, so it still feels like you have some agency, and when your opponent's doing it, you're not like seeing that randomness explicitly, you know, so it's still the same kind of randomness that Magic always has, where it's like, what order do you draw your cards in? It still feels like that to me. What about you?
No, I think you nailed it with that, with literally the randomness, because there are certain things that feel strange, like, oh, add this card to your deck or whatever. But the things that frustrate me about other digital card games usually aren't those specific things. Usually it's their economy, I think, is strange, or their combat doesn't feel correct to me. Sorry, when I say economy...
the combat's a huge one.
Yeah, combat is huge.
Combat is what makes Magic.
Yeah. Economy, when I said economy, I meant... their resources, the resource management of the game, not the way that they use like dust or whatever. Those tend to be the things that are most different. And some of the random stuff, the deal 3 damage to random targets is frustrating, and I don't know if that would make me feel super off Magic. Maybe just that card I wouldn't like in Magic. But no, it doesn't. To me, it still feels like Magic, and it still feels like Arena, and I'm playing the same game, and I'm barely phased. Like, there's a lot of these cards I've already adapted to, and I'm like, yep. Because we had lessons, and we had other stuff that was like, it's kind of weird you pull cards from outside the game. We've had wishes since forever. Like...
Totally.
Yeah, it doesn't feel strange.
Exactly.
Really
it's kind of like an extension of the wish mechanic, and seeking doesn't feel that bad either. Like, I haven't found that makes me you're like, well, seek, this isn't Magic, you know, because it's just kind of like the old anticipate kind of thing. You're gonna get whatever the top creature is or whatever.
It's essentially it's like Cascade, right? It's like the same thing but a little different.
It's similar to Cascade. Exactly.
You know, it's like it's just easier, you know. So all in all, I'm actually, when I first heard about Alchemy, I was very low on it, and I have again slowly climbed out of the hole and come out and be like, this is nice. I like this. It'll be a nice refresher. I don't know if it's something I'm going to put a lot of resources and investment into, but I've really enjoyed what I've been playing so far.
Totally. Yeah, I've really enjoyed playing it as well. And as to how much it feels like Standard, I mean, right now it feels like a totally different format.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like Standard is just 3 decks, and one of them isn't good. So it's like mono white versus blue red. And this has tons of different decks. Now we're still in the honeymoon phase here, right? Like people are still trying out the new thing, and there hasn't been a ton of articles from the pros telling you how to just win at the format yet. So maybe that'll change and it'll stabilize a bit. But what I like is that they could just change that. So I think it's going to depend. How much it feels like standard will depend on how aggressive they are with nerfs and with changes. And I personally hope they're really aggressive with it, because to me that's the point of this format. The reason not to like nerf and ban cards is because people invested in them and will be like, that sucks. But with this, they can say, hey, we warned you. Like, that's what this format is. If you buy something for the format Alchemy, don't plan on it sticking around for a long time if it's the best thing to be doing.
Yeah, or staying the same. And again, it's like, hey, if you bought the cards for a deck, or you spent your wild cards and your resources on a deck that you knew was busted to play it busted, that is kind of your fault. Like, hey,
you can't then turn around and complain.
If you know it's busted and like, isn't that awesome? Like, yeah, sure, it can be fun to play busted decks and do those things, but you know that you're on that spectrum of you're closer to getting your deck banned than other people. So just know
on the chopping block there.
Hey, just know that going in, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So,
and so far it's felt more powerful than standard to me, which obviously, it's standard but with more cards. But some of the good cards in standard were nerfed, so I wasn't totally sure that it would be higher power level than standard necessarily, but it feels like it is just from playing a few matches.
Yeah, it feels great. So, anyway, I have a lot more to say about this format, but Jeff, I need another beer before I do that to make sure I can say it right. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into like specific cards and decks after we have that sort of general format overview that we just did.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to a beer break. This beer break is brought to you by our patrons over at Patreon.
That's right. You're already supporting the show just by listening, but if you want to support the show even more, the Patreon is the best way to do that.
And when you become a patron, you get an exclusive invite to our after party, which is a mini episode recorded immediately after this one where we ramble on about non-magic related things.
Plus, you get to vote on which one of us you like more by either buying me a beer
or buying me a beer. So go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/arenaregulars, to vote on your favorite host right now.
All right.
Alrighty, Jeff. We got this new beer in our tap takeover from Fairweather.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. So what we have here is Tranquilo, which is a sour saison. When I bought it, I was actually thinking, I haven't had a saison in a while, actually. I feel like those beers were all the rage like 2 years ago here, and now nobody makes them anymore.
Oh, baby. Oh. So it says it's a sour saison conditioned with fresh lime zest and Sriracha Ace?
Yes, that's a type of hops.
Oh, perfect. I love that you can teach me all about hops. I should know more, but I don't. Fantastic. So this is, like you said, a sour saison, which is 5.7%. All right, and the can has these, just like a really nice kind of print looking, like limes and oranges and lemons with like some leaves and things. It's really
it's like a floral citrus print. It's very cool.
It's really cool. Oof. So far, I'm liking this.
This one came recommended, so I picked out just the pale ale, and then the I won't spoil what the next one is, but I picked that one out as well. And then I saw that they had two different saisons on the menu, so I asked the wonderful server the person who was working the beer bottle takeout window, because that's what it was. It was like a little window on the side, and they recommended this one out of the two saisons because it has some punch to it, I guess.
We will talk about this later, but let's get back into some alchemy because we still have some thoughts on that. So I kind of want to talk about just new cards that we've been playing against a lot, and just things that have just been added basically to the format. They're like, oh, this is now a card I see all the time.
So maybe the first one to talk about is Key to the Archive. Zach, do you want to tell everyone what this card does? Because I know you're an expert in exactly how this card works. So.
All right, so Key to the Archive is a 4-mana artifact that enters the battlefield tapped, and it taps for 2 mana of any combination of colors. And then it says, when Key to the Archive enters the battlefield, draft a card from Key to the Archive spellbook, then discard a card. All right. So this is kind of a long story, but I'm going to try to make it not so long. But anyway, when I had first got into Alchemy, or when after the update happened, the only thing I wanted to figure out was whether the arena only or the arena starter cards, which are like some of the cards that you play in the color challenges, that are legal in best of 1 standard always, if they are also legal in Alchemy best of 3. So I basically built this bullshit mono black deck that had like Rakshasa, whatever. Basically, like it was like the 3-mana 5/5 that makes you discard a card, and then like the 5-mana.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, and then there's like a 5-mana 4/4 that says like when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to your opponent equal to the number of swamps you control.
Okay.
Something like that. So these weird cards that they're not in paper. They've never been printed in paper. They've only been printed in Arena, and they're only legal in standard best of 1. So I was like, let's see if these are legal in standard best of 3.
Explains why I've never heard of them.
Exactly. So I built this deck just, in 2 minutes just to be like, all right, let's just see. I click the play thing in best of 3, and the first...
Who knows with the new
play blade. It's my first thing. Let's just go. I just want to see if my deck is legal and if I can literally draw it and play the cards. And who happens to be my first opponent but Saffron Olive. I've never played against Saffron Olive in my life, and I feel immediately embarrassed because the deck I'm playing is this bullshit mono black deck I built.
But if there's anyone to run into who might be running an even dumber deck than you, like...
Yes. So I was like, oh my god, this is so awful. But I was like, all right, let's just see how this goes. Hopefully he's just playing around and not in a video or anything, and I won't... it won't have my fucking name on this thing forever. Anyway, as I'm playing through, it's just like kind of this aggressive mono black deck. And he's just like land pass, land pass. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And he plays Key to the Archive. And I'm like, okay. I mouse over it. It says something, something spellbook and tap for 2 mana. I was like, okay, whatever. If you remember, last week I did mention that I'm never giving a shit about what is in the spell books, and I'm never going to read what is in the spell books, which I didn't. And I'm playing.
It's like first game.
Yeah, first game.
That matters.
So I'm playing against Saffron Olive, and it's like the first couple hours of this format, so nobody really knows what's going on, and we're all trying to figure it out. And the first real spell he ever plays is Approach to the Second Sun. And I'm like, how the fuck did you play that card? I was like, where did that come from? And then I immediately, in my mind, was like, I guess mystical archive cards are legal in Alchemy.
Right, they were in Strixhaven.
They were in Strixhaven. It slipped through the cracks somehow, and it must be a mistake. Or maybe it's just part of the format. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm like, sure, okay, he's playing this Approach to the Second Sun deck. He was using this... this mana rock to just like ramp into it. Great. We play through it, and then he plays Time Warp. I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, what the fuck is this? So we're playing through a couple games, and I think I ended up like squeaking out wins just from stupid stuff, but he's like countering my cards with Counterspell. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this happening?
Bolt that, Counterspell this. Yeah.
So then later he posts up on his Twitter, hey, so apparently, and he takes a screenshot of it. Apparently, the arena only cards are legal in Alchemy. And I was like, hey, that's me. Also, are the mystical archive cards that? And then a bunch of people on Twitter were like, that's what the Key to the Archive does. And everyone's like, no, it's the key. The key is the one. Yeah, and I was like,
key.
Oh. And then I went back and looked. Oh, so the Key to the Archive is the archive of the library in Strixhaven.
The key to the mystical archive.
Oh, that makes sense. And then I was like, oh, all the cards you can draft are from mystical archives. So that makes sense. So I just look really stupid. All in all...
And you, like, messaged me being like, so are the Mystical Archive cards legal? And I'm in the deck builder when I get that message. I'm like, well, it's not letting me put them in. So I don't know. He must have built, like, a non-alchemy deck.
Yeah, it was in
Picked that. We were trying to figure out how the hell he was playing these cards.
I could have just read the card. But to be fair...
No, but you would have to read the 15 cards that are next to the card. Or
exactly.
Like, you know.
So that was my first alchemy experience. So hey, if you were confused or you felt dumb this weekend, welcome to the club, because I sure did.
Just think about us, because we felt dumber, probably.
Felt really dumb. I was like, I should know this, but I'm still not going to read the spell books. I learned nothing.
Yeah, I'm still not going to.
I learned nothing from this. Just, the key will get you archive cards. That's what I need to know.
And it's so funny that happened because, like, just a few days earlier, I played against Saffron Olive for the first time ever. And, like, we all play a lot of Arena. And I just happened to match against him for the first time. And then, like, 3 days later, you matched against him for the first time.
It was so weird. It was like, oh, okay. So, hey, at least we get to put that, like, maybe we get, like, a badge that says, oh, we played against Saffron Olive. And we get...
Yeah, we need a deciding game, because I think we split against him, because in my games his deck didn't do its thing. It just didn't do anything, and I, like, killed him with a Kazandu Mammoth. So.
But anyway, yeah. So Key to the Archive. That's a card that's been everywhere, and been dealing with a lot. And it's a lot easier to play against once you know it.
Yeah. It's really good, though, because, like, it doesn't get card advantage, really, because you have to discard. Mm-hmm. But you're upgrading to something that is almost certainly much better. Like, I was looking at, for the first time, I was looking at the spellbook. I think the worst 3 you could possibly see is Claim the Firstborn, Crozen Grip, if they don't have any artifacts or enchantments, and, like, Growth Spiral, which is, like, you still get a Growth Spiral. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. And in the best of times, you know, it gets you a time warp and curves right into it. So this card has really impressed me. And it's obviously also really good with Teferi, because an artifact that taps for 2 and gets untapped by Teferi's +1, like Teferi generates 3 extra mana off the +1 from a land and untapping this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this card, I didn't even know it was in the set. I must have, like, skimmed over it while reading, because... I didn't realize that the draft a card would be from the Mystical Archives. But now that I know that, it's like, this card's pretty crazy. You could get some insane stuff.
You can get really insane stuff. And the fact that you're drafting it, it's not just, you get 1 of the 15. It's like, no, you get to pick the best 1 of the 3 you see. And you, like, there's... Right. What is the chances you're going to see the worst 3 in your, when you play it? Like...
15, choose 3.
Sorry, what? Is that a math thing?
Yes.
So is that just how you say it?
Yeah, you say 15, choose 3, because you're like, it's 15 things and you're choosing 3 of them. Oh. But the formulas involves, like, factorials. So it's 1 in 455.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. It's 1 in 455 that you will get the 3 worst ones. And I like those odds. Those are good odds.
So yeah, 15 choose 3, just to be pedantic, is 455. So that's like those are the number of possibilities of choosing 3 different things from a pool of 15.
Sick. All right. I like that. I'm going to start using more math lingo like that as you start to tutor me. But yeah, this is obviously a card that looked terrible to me because it just seems boring. It enters tapped, it taps for mana, and it does something that I don't immediately know what's going on. So, hey,
yeah,
maybe I should read...
It confused me, so I hate it.
Yeah, classic Magic player. But yeah. Anyway, Jeff, what's some more cards that seemed impactful?
All right, so the one I want to talk about here, because this is the card I've crafted and played the most of.
I know what it
is.
is.
Sanguine Brushstroke.
Absolutely it is.
As you may have guessed, I've been playing a lot of aristocrat-style decks, in particular of the Rakdos variety. And I love this card. So this is the card that comes down. It's a 3-mana enchantment. It makes a Blood Artist and a Blood Token, so that the artist has something to paint with. And then whenever you sack a Blood Token, you drain them for 1 as well. So before Ikoria rotated out, I loved playing Rakdos Sacrifice, and the key card to that was a 3-mana enchantment that made a 1/1 and gave you the Blood Artist effect, because you really need that Blood Artist effect for these decks to be good. And this card does that. It literally makes a Blood Artist, and it makes blood. So a lot of people have been playing this, but obviously as soon as I saw this card, I was like, I have to play this deck too. And this card's the real deal. Like, it's put sacrifice decks back on the map, because you just get drained. Like, you're in this damned if you do, damned if you don't, where they have a huge board, but if you, like, Wrath of God, you're going to take a ton of damage from the Blood Artist. So really, it really gives the deck some inevitability.
You can't even stop the creatures, because if anything makes a blood token, you're fucked. Like,
right, and that's why I like Rakdos, is I like the creatures that make blood tokens to kind of double whammy on really take advantage of Sanguine Brushstroke as much as possible.
Yeah, I definitely saw this card and was like, oh yeah, I think this card seems cool. And then somebody played it against me. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Then they played 2 more against me. I'm like, oh my god, I can't do anything. Crazy. So, yes, this is a good card.
When I read it the first time, I thought the Blood Artist went into your hand. I just assumed, like, I auto-completed that in my brain, and I was like, I don't know if that's going to be good enough. And then I read it again. I was like, wait, it goes right onto the battlefield? No, this card's awesome.
Yeah. So it's basically like, okay, so I drew a Blood Artist. It costs 1 more, but I get a blood token and this enchantment that sticks around. Amazing. Like,
exactly.
It's so good. Yes. I also like this card. I haven't played with it, but I've played against it, and I think we're going to see it for quite a while. And you're right. I wasn't thinking about the Blood Artist and the blood with the flavor. That is... obviously, it's very easy to see, but I, of course, did not see it. So
it's just nice, right?
It's
and
nice.
It's called Sanguine Brushstroke. And it all comes together really nicely.
It all really comes together. I like that. Last week, we talked a lot about Inquisitor Captain. Mainly the fact that, once again, I did not know what it did and then realized what it did. But it's good. It's really good. I talked about it a little bit earlier. And I think we'll see it.
It's held up to the hype, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see it. And I like it a lot. And it's a big thing that Mono White needed for Wrath Protection, which is good in this type of situation, where kind of against the in regular standard. Or I guess it's not regular; it's just standard. In standard. The Is It Epiphany deck is mainly just like ramping to their, or just like racing to their combo and just trying to 1-for-1 kind of trade off stuff till they get there. So you're not using a lot of like Wrath Protection, but in a format that has a bunch of like creature decks and is doing a bunch of these other weird things, Wrath Protection can be helpful. And now technically it doesn't like save any of your creatures, but just keeping an Inquisitor Captain in your hand until they wipe the board, and then you play that for 4 and then get another creature and like just rebuild immediately feels really good. It's like, all right, what else you got? And they're like, damn it.
If you've ever played a Collected Company deck against a Wrath of God deck, you know what it feels like when they Wrath of God and you're like, don't care, just gonna totally re-up. This isn't quite as good because Coco would come like on the end step when they tapped out to Wrath. It's just like, well, I accomplished nothing. This one is like, at least they bought themselves a turn with the Wrath, but it still feels bad if you Wrath the board and your opponent drops this. It's like, well, 2 more threats to deal with right away.
Yeah. You don't get that extra combat step with Coco. With Coco, you get an extra one because you do it on their end step.
Yeah,
so you
with
get
Coco, it feels like they did nothing when they Wrath of God. But if they don't, then the Coco adds 2 more creatures and they're dead. So it's like...
Exactly.
But then... There's just nothing they can do.
Yeah. This one is nice, though, because there are those weird chances where Coco doesn't either misses completely or only gets you one creature that isn't really worth it. And this one you always get two. You will always get two creatures, and you get to pick one of them.
Yeah. Now, there are weird things that can happen, right? Where, like, I don't know, if your opponent exiles your graveyard, exiles, or, like, if you commit too much to the battlefield, say, it actually isn't on anymore.
Is that true?
You need a certain number. Yeah, because it doesn't actually check the battlefield, weirdly enough.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, graveyard, hand, and library. Oh, that is weird. Okay.
So you need to be, like, oddly cognizant of your creature count, basically, in your whole deck. Because it's like, if I run 23 creatures, you know, that's obviously, I should be running more than that. But let's say I run 23 and I have 4 of them on the battlefield.
You're screwed.
This won't turn on.
If this is the 4th creature that you play.
Right, if I have 3 of them on the battlefield, then I cast this. It's like, it just whiffs. But also, if your opponent manages to exile your graveyard in a long game, you might not have enough left. Or if they, you know, this is my favorite way, if they hit you with a Tasha's Hideous Laughter, this might turn off. So.
Ooh, that's true. Ooh. Tasha's Hideous
But
Laughter.
as long as you meet the requirement of, like, 20 creature cards in your graveyard, hand, and library, then you're right. This always gets 2 creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's shenanigans of, like, flickering this, you know, that doesn't exist with Coco.
That's true.
If you want to go that route.
However, this does get turned off by Strict Proctor, so Coco does not.
Good old Strict Proctor, Alchemy's strongest card.
So good. But Jeff, I do want to talk about an archetype that needed some love and got some love.
Yes.
And I'm loving it.
Yes. I know where we're going.
Werewolves, man.
Ooh.
Ooh, so good. Man.
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted werewolves to be good in constructed, like, since before Midnight Hunt came out, because I assumed that when Midnight Hunt came out, that would be true. And they were a bit lackluster in Midnight Hunt, because even if you're playing Gruul, you should just be playing the Magda ramp into Isika's Chariot and Goldspan Dragon version.
Exactly.
And so with the nerf to those cards, as well as the extra werewolves injected with the Alchemy set, I think werewolves is finally maybe tier 1. Like, I've gotten ripped apart by a few werewolves decks.
Yeah, I mean, like, the play pattern of, like, turn 1 Tenacious Pup into turn 2 Rahilda into turn 3 Tovolar is gross.
Yeah, I think having a reasonable 1-drop for Tovolar is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have 2 options with the 1-drop wolf that came in Crimson Valley.
Yeah, Ascendant Pack Leader or something.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think I like Tenacious Pup more than Ascendant Pack Leader, actually.
Same, yeah.
Because Ascendant Pack Leader cares about 4 or more cost stuff, and Tenacious Pup is more aggressive, and it wants you to play 2s and 3s. Like, play a creature right after me. That's what I really like about it.
I love that it weirdly gains you 1 life. I don't know why it does that, but...
Also, Vigilance is huge on it. Like, even playing, like, a Werewolf Pack Leader right after the Tenacious Pup, you're just like, all right, I got a 2-mana 4/4 with Vigilance and Trample. Like, on turn 2. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? It sucks so much.
It's crazy. And then I think that makes it so that because it has the 1/1 counter, if you ever activate the 2-drop wolf, it now turns itself on because it becomes a 5/3 with a counter, so it's 6. It turns on its own Pack Tactics.
Pack Tactics. Yeah. Werewolf Pack Leader, man. Getting better. I've played a bit of Tenacious Pup in some bullshit werewolf decks where I did not want to craft Rahilda yet.
Yeah, I didn't pull the trigger on it because it's like 4 mythic rare wild cards or whatever, but I don't know, maybe you can get away with 2 Rahildas, but Rahilda's really good.
Rahilda's very good.
And giving it trample is also huge because it triggers off dealing combat damage to a player.
Exactly. So Rahilda is interesting because it feels very, very similar to the Robber of the Rich.
Yes.
Right? Because, like, it cares about if you attacked with a certain creature type to play cards, and then I don't know if I like First Strike more than Haste, but I might. It seems harder to deal with in combat. Sometimes the Robber of the Rich you could just like block forever or just like kill it.
Yeah, they're definitely reminiscent. Slightly different because this triggers on dealing combat damage, and Robert I think triggered on
on attacks. You're right. So
you would often like chump the Robber of the Rich, chump attack it in the late game. But I think generally this is a little better in combat, like you say. Plus, it can flip, right?
Yeah, and then you get
striker.
You get two triggers off of it.
And then again, the counter from your Tenacious Pup goes a long way if it flips and has trample and double strike, and it's a 3/3. Like it's just an absolute beast in combat.
Oh, that's good.
And then the other one that I haven't been as impressed with, but you know, is still there, the Blood Rage Alpha. It's like the fight lord. It comes down.
Oh, right.
Makes stuff fight other stuff. I don't know if I would play that because it's a 4 mana. I don't know if I'm playing that over like other options, like even the Planeswalker might be better. I don't know.
I've kind of like
you have options.
Yeah, I've liked having the one like a single version of the 2 mana. It's like 2 red for a 3/3 werewolf that like whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player or I guess any target. And then when it flips, it says every creature you control has that ability. Where if it's dealt damage, and I've kind of liked that one because if you can get it tonight, you just Alpha Strike and it's like you can't do anything. So having one of those weird caveats in there it can be kind of nice, but yeah, Werewolf seems really fun. I have a pretty terrible build of it right now, but I've been having fun anyway. So,
and you know, as a whole archetype, I think one of the huge things that happened too. We didn't talk about this in the nerfs, but is it just me or does Faceless Haven suck now?
It's not great. It's not really worth playing anymore. Right?
I know. It's crazy. I didn't think the 1 point of power would make this much of a difference, but now when I play against it, I'm like, 3/3. Who cares?
Yeah, because all the stuff that all the creatures that matter are 4 power or 4 toughness.
And I think that helps a deck like Werewolves compete because before it was like if you're playing aggro, you might as well be monocolored to get Faceless Haven. And now it's like, that's not worth it anymore. And the creature lands that Gruul has are the best. So now it's like Werewolves just has the best creature lands in addition to getting pumped up a bit in power.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. Kind of nice. I'm happy that Faceless Haven got a little bit of the boot.
I was like getting torn to shreds by a Werewolves deck that went, exactly what you said, Tenacious Pup into Rahilda into Tovolar, and I just had a huge smile on my face when I knew that on turn 2 I knew I wasn't going to win this game.
Yeah.
But I was just like, yes, I'm getting crushed by werewolves.
There we go. So, but our last card, this one, Jeff, do you want to talk about it? Because it surprised me a bit.
I wanted to talk about it mostly just because I've seen it a lot.
Yes.
And that's Toralf's Disciple. So this is the 2 and a red 3/3 haste, and whenever it attacks, it puts 4 lightning bolts into your deck. I'm still not totally sold on, I still don't know how to feel about this card, but a lot of people are playing it in some sort of, burn shell, and I'm getting bolted out of the game a lot.
So this card is funny because I have played against it many, many times. I have never seen a lightning bolt, ever.
So that's how this card should work. This card doesn't seem good to me, but it's all over the place and people are talking about it. And to me, if you're interested in a 3/3 haste, then you're interested in this card. And you should view that other part as a pretty minor upside. But I'm just seeing so many people play this, so I have to maybe they are seeing something that I'm not. I have gotten lightning bolted a lot. Personally. Although I did Test of Talents a lightning bolt and remove 11 copies from my opponent's deck. Which was just fun because it was I know that I didn't really accomplish much more than negating a lightning bolt, but still, it was fun.
That's amazing. That's so good. I've been seeing a little bit of that around Twitter, just like the hopes of doing that. So I'm so happy for you that you were able to do
I
that.
did it. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool.
I think I still lost though because this thing attacked me 3 times. But...
Exactly. Man, that's so funny. All in all, I think I am really happy with all the new cards. I've been seeing a lot of stuff. People have been, embracing it a lot, and just being like, "Hey, I'm gonna play these cards. It's fun." I even myself was like, "Oh, I guess I could use all my uncommon wild cards on these cards. Might as well just have them. There's no reason I wouldn't."
Yeah, why not? Right?
Why not? They're just sitting there. So that was kind of nice, and it's been fun. Certain things like being able to play against a sacrifice deck that's playing Cursebound Witch instead of Eye Twitch. It's just different. It's just nice. It is the breath of fresh air that I was hoping it would be, and I think it will continue to be like that. So, I'm on board.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same, and hopefully, continues to stay
Fresh,
interesting
and fun.
Fresh, yeah. And I think we talked about most of the decks that I would consider to be top decks in the format. The only one I would say is that I don't know if we mentioned Clerics when we talked about Inquisitor Captain, but I'm seeing a lot of people play Clerics.
Yeah, I guess there have been a lot of people playing Clerics. I was thinking in my mind that it was actually a party deck, but it's really just Angel of Unity giving all the Clerics a bump because they're part of the party. So it's not really...
My opponent played that card. I thought it was a party deck. And I was like, oh, you're just doing it to buff Clerics. I guess that actually makes sense.
It does make sense. I do like that.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of vampire decks. A ton of those because the freaking dragon from Kaldheim is a vampire, the Rakdos one.
Yes.
Didn't remember that was a vampire until I was like, what?
Good old Immersturm Predator.
You gotta
vampire dragon.
You gotta be freaking kidding me. Before I ask you what you're playing right now, I want to talk about the deck I'm playing right now.
Yes, do it.
So, like I was saying before, I was on the mono white train, and then Stern Proctor smacked me right in the face, and then I stopped. But the Stern Proctor player was playing this pretty sweet Azoria Spirits deck. So I was like, that sounds pretty fun. So I ended up building this Azoria...
Sounds like it has a lot of auras in it. Down.
So I ended up building this Azoria Spirits deck, which I am playing Catilda and a bunch of the auras and the stuff that I like.
Nice.
But a lot of the game plan is kind of like, play these other creatures to block, and really your end of the game plan is just Faithbound Judge will be played and either kill them or die, and then you'll kill them with the aura. And now I'm building the deck kind of the way that you wanted, and I need some tweaks and I need to fix it a little bit. But at the moment, it's like, all right, first game plan, just straight up tribal creatures, and I'm playing the Geist Patrician. Patrician? Is that the right? It's it's like 2 and a blue for a 2/2 with flying that gives all your spirits +1/+1, and then every card that you play from your graveyard costs 1 less. So I'm kind of trying to ramp into my aura, a curse against them from Faithbound Judge by using Faithful Looting and stuff, and Faithful Mending.
Okay.
Faithful Mending.
Right, Faithful Mending.
Yeah, to throw it into the yard. While also having this creature strategy. But so basically I play game 1, full creatures, let's go, let's try to kill. And then I side out a bunch of different creature things, bring in a bunch of removal and counter spells, and just go straight, counter your shit, and then just try to get my combo to work. And it has been a blast.
That sounds great.
Especially
Do you play the Inquisitor Captain?
No, I haven't played the Inquisitor Captain. I was thinking about it, but I was like, I don't know if I want it to be that strong. I
just wouldn't know what to say if my opponent played Inquisitor Captain and then hit Faithbound Judge off it. Be like, what's happening?
What's going on right now? So I have a lot of legendary creatures, so sometimes it's hard to be like, it could be a situation where it's like I play Inquisitor Captain, I'm like, I already have both of those legendary creatures on the battlefield. I don't know. So I should try that out, But I'm interested in moving possibly more to a control deck and playing the Azorius control deck you were talking about with Alrund's Epiphany, and playing the Alrund's Epiphany thing where you try to make that card cheaper so that I can take all the turns and make my curse go off. So it kind of started as like this Aura Spirits deck and is kind of morphing into that deck that we had talked about before. So
I love it.
I am having a blast working with that. So Azorius has been so much fun. But Jeff, what are you playing right now?
Oh, I'm on mostly my Rakdos brushstroke blood sacrifice deck. It's just like I love playing those kinds of decks. I'm honestly just a bit bummed that I think this deck might be tier 1. So it's like a lot of people are playing it, a lot of people have hate for it. And I wanted to build. As soon as I saw that card, I was like, I'm going to go build this. And then now I don't feel unique because a lot of people thought that same thing.
Yeah.
But, I've always loved the Rack Sack deck, as I call it. And
Rack Sack, that's great.
And then I've been trying to, as usual, make my Cultivator Colossus, just like I was in Standard, make some sort of Cultivator Colossus deck, work with Ren 7 and stuff. So, been trying every color combination under the sun for that. So that's been a lot of fun too. Going forward, there are a few different ideas that I have too. Like we talked about the mono red dragons with Chandra thing when Chandra was spoiled. I think that could be a cool deck in Alchemy because you got a few more red dragons that could
and some ramp
make
spells
their way into the deck.
So
So I think honestly, like if there's any cards that you were excited for Standard or even from the new Alchemy set, just build around them and like have fun because that's what Alchemy is right now.
Yeah.
I do have a concern though that I think the best deck in the format might actually still be blue-red control. They just don't play Alrund's Epiphany to kill you anymore. They now have this Key to the Archive shenanigans where they're like, it's like you said, the Galvanic iteration almost got better because they can't play Epiphany because now they're using it, they're using it in more things. Like copying a Mystical Archive card is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I've gotten hit with the curve of they Key to the Archive turn 4, turn 5, iteration Time Warp. And I was like, that's bullshit. That like accelerated their combo turn thing because now they have 7 mana on turn 5 and they can iteration in the Time Warp.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, that's stupid. And like you said earlier with the card that I always forget the name of, but the 6-drop that draws you 3 cards and makes your hand cheaper, like that feels almost as backbreaking as Elrond's Epiphany did, especially when copied.
It almost feels worse. Discover the formula.
I know.
It's just because.
So do you remember when the like Omnath decks were running rampant right when the set was released, and it was all Omnath ramp, and they're like, okay, we're gonna ban Uro, so that the Omnath ramp deck is a little neutered but not completely destroyed. And then the players had to get more creative and figured out that Omnath Adventures was the best deck in the format. And so it's like they banned something to try to weaken a deck, but it only made the players get more creative with their deck building and they found a better deck. It almost feels like that's what happened here. It's like, this deck is probably better than the deck was when it had fully powered Alrund's Epiphany. Now there's some new cards, right? But it's still like, this deck probably is better than that one.
Yeah, I mean, Discover the Formula being an instant, but so this is the great thing. We know that this card is a digital only card. They can nerf the shit out of this if they want. If they think that Discover the Formula is too powerful as an instant, they can change the mana cost, they can change the abilities, maybe it doesn't get as many cards, maybe it's not an instant, all that kind of stuff. So
making it a sorcery would really, really destroy it. Or, they could make Galvanic Iteration a sorcery just in this format.
Yeah.
For example.
That's true. So all those kinds of things. We have those tools at our disposal. Sorry. They have those tools at their disposal.
Right.
And we get to wait to see what they do with them. But I'm much more excited about this whole alchemy rebalancing thing than I originally was. And, hey, being able to play a format that's just, Arena is already super different than Paper. just inherently by like how quickly you can draft and just your collection and how you can use cards without having to re-sleeve decks and all those kinds of things. Like it is already different, so
totally.
leaning into the differences feels like the right choice to me. And I like paper being its own thing and Arena being its own thing. Even though they're the same game.
I think there's a good chance that Alchemy is the format I play the most moving forward. Mm-hmm. Just because I've really liked Standard before, but then it stales out, and that's when I start dipping my toe into like Historic and other stuff when Standard kind of stagnates. Mm-hmm. And so if I can get the best of both worlds here, where it's still that, slightly lower power level that Standard has, but it doesn't stagnate as easily, that sounds great.
Yeah, sounds great to me. So, on board. Alchemy gets a home run slam dunk.
So as my final thought here before we go to the beer break, I wanted to complain about one more thing about the stupid blue-red deck.
All right, perfect.
Because this wasn't obvious to me on the at first blush, but my opponent did divide by 0 their own key to the archive to go get another Mystical Archive card with it, and I thought that was BS.
That's really good.
Because they tapped 2 mana from the key to cast the divide by 0, and I was just like, this feels unfair.
That feels so good. Because not only do you learn, but you also get...
you're card neutral here.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that, though. I like that a lot.
And I've also had somebody iteration on... what is it? Demonic Tutor.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
From the key to the archive, which just sets up their combo perfectly. They get whatever 2 cards they want. So there's been some messed up stuff with this blue-red control deck and key to the archive. I don't know if it's supposed to be Jeskai with Teferi, because obviously Teferi and key are busted, or if it's supposed to be like Grixis or something. And just to keep going, you get to recast your Mystical Archive cards with Leer. So they play Leer, and then they recast all of these busted cards out of their graveyard. It's just like the whole package comes together really well, and the deck seems insane to me. So that's my recommendation. If you want to win, you should play the blue-red, some version of the blue-red control deck that takes advantage of the Mystical Archive cards.
Yeah, and if you don't have Key to the Archive in your collection already, be wary that it might get rebalanced. Because
it might get rebalanced, yeah.
This seems busted. Especially when it's not extremely easy to know what cards are in the spellbook. Because you can't really hover over the card and see that. So...
When my opponent copied the Demonic Tutor, that's when I was like, I gotta go read this spellbook, because I did not think that card would be in it.
Exactly.
What the hell is that?
A card that isn't legal in Historic.
Yeah. Right, and they have like Counterspell and Lightning Bolt.
And Lightning Bolt. And you're like, okay, yes, these are Mystical Archive cards that are, I guess, legal in Historic Brawl, but like not regular Historic. These are... Okay. I'm going to calm down.
Yeah.
But sometimes the spellbooks are better than you think they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I highly recommend packing some sort of artifact and enchantment hate in the 75, because this card is great, and the Sanguine, blood brushstroke is also an enchantment that's really good, and there's just more artifacts and enchantments than there used to be that matter, and so when you're building your werewolves deck, play that Outland Liberator.
That's literally...
Just throw it in the main deck.
That's literally what I was going to say. I was like, you need to play that werewolf. That's the 2-mana kill a thing.
Finally, it has a purpose.
Yes! Besides just a Seeker's Chariot and
yeah, and you can kill
class.
Zach's curse that makes you lose.
No! Shut up! No, never mind. Those cards are not important. Don't kill my curse. All right, Jeff, I think it's time for last call and to grab our 3rd beer for the night, because it's a special night. All righty, Jeff. Tell me what we got right now. Ooh.
Feels weird not to have the big reveal.
I know.
Who won, you know.
It's weird.
But, you know, as usual, we still did maybe save the best for last here.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is called Silky, and it's an oat porter.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm really excited to give this one a try. So adding oats to your beer, like silky's kind of the perfect word for it. It kind of increases the mouthfeel, like the body. It makes it smooth and silky. So that's why they've called it this. This can looks awesome too. Similar to the last one, it's like a print, right? It's like a yellow print with like American cabin and bears all over it.
Yeah. It's like if they
like a bear chilling on a picnic table.
Is this just Yogi? Is this just like a realistic Yogi the bear just going around chilling, eating picnic baskets?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it.
I want this. Actually, I want all the cans as prints for a short sleeve button up shirt.
All right, you heard that, Fairweather. Make it happen.
Make it happen, because I want a shirt with all the art from the cans, because it's amazing. This one says, a rich, soft American-style porter brewed with heaps of oats. Mm-hmm. I'm really into this. It's 5.5%. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Ugh. Go check out our Instagram if you want to see these, or go check out their website, actually. It's Fairweather Brewing. Just remember that. But, all right, Jeff. Let's take some time to drink this one, because we've drank the other ones, but as we make sure you get some sips in as we continue to talk about how we rate things and rate some other beers. But
for sure.
So, if you are new to the show, we rate our beers on a scale of bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. Hey, look at that.
Whoa.
So, as always, this means nothing to your tier personally, because, hey, everyone has to be in a tier at some point, and you'll get wherever you want to go or wherever you need to be. Those tiers are just for fun on Arena and when we rate beers. However, bronze beers are trash. Bronze beers are the worst. You just throw them out. You can't even finish drinking them.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I've spent plenty of time in bronze tier, but that doesn't support your point, because I am trash. So it actually lines up there.
All right.
But next up would be silver. In the beer brewing world, this would be like macro brews or craft brews that just don't have a ton going on, not particularly interesting.
Yeah. Gold beers are fine, but you won't really drink them ever again. They're just like there.
So I think we switched the next one, right? Solid beers are platinum that you would
get out of no, none of that. let the joke
platinum
die.
Beers, these are solid. They're one step up from gold. You would drink them again. They were good.
Diamond beers are exceptional, and you would recommend them to your friends or even Jeff.
And Mythic is the absolute best. You would recommend them to literally anyone that even indicates that they've heard of beer before.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just always think it's so funny when I pretend Jeff's not my friend. All right.
It's okay. It's cool.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. I don't care.
I love it too.
Yeah, it's a funny joke. You should keep saying it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get...
What's the TikTok? It's like it's funny, but stop.
Yeah. That's a good joke, man. It's even funny. Like, I get it, but like, can you stop? Yeah. All right. Should we just start with our go from least to best, maybe?
Okay. I think I've locked in on my least favorite.
I've locked in on my least favorite, so should we do a 3, 2, 1? What's our least favorite?
Okay.
All right.
3,
2, 1. Menagerie. All right, perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I like touted this beer when I came in, as I was excited because it was boring, kind of. It's just a pale ale with only mosaic hops. But then when I was drinking it, I was like, this is boring. So,
yeah.
Again, it was my least favorite, but I don't think it was bad.
No, absolutely not. It was also my least favorite because I thought that the single hoppedness of it wasn't so different that it surprised me or anything. But I did like the beer. I think it's a good pale ale. I just think they have more to offer, I'm sure.
I actually think the single hoppedness may have been part of the contributing factor for me. And I think this has indicated to me something that I didn't necessarily know about mosaic hops. Have you ever heard anyone describe a beer as tasting like bubblegum?
You have mentioned someone you know saying a beer tastes like bubblegum.
Yeah, my brother says that a lot.
Okay.
This is the first time that I've understood. This tasted a little bit like bubblegum to me.
Weird. I didn't really get
Yeah.
that, but I wish that I. Now I want to go back and try it again just to see if it tastes like bubblegum to me. But
Yeah, I should have like mentioned it in passing while you still had some, but
yeah. Okay, I can kind of see
I don't know
that,
if it's
though.
like him in my brain now or what's going on, but yeah, I finally got it like a little bit like almost like a fake berry flavor kind of, I guess. Is
Interesting.
more, which you know makes you think of bubblegum because that's what they do. And I think that's just the Mosaic hops. And I've had Mosaic before, but there's always other stuff
In it,
in
yeah.
it as well.
It's usually just kind of like there, right?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, I've made beer with Mosaic hops and liked the beer that came out. So maybe I'm learning that I don't like Mosaic on its own. I shouldn't do all Mosaic.
Interesting. Okay. Because that was pretty, like, I thought it was pretty good. Like, I'm going to give this platinum. Like, I liked this.
Yeah, so for me, like, I feel like the beer is platinum, but then I have this weird, like, aftertaste or I don't know, mental block that makes me in particular not like it. It's probably similar to the what's that herb that tastes really bad to some people?
Cilantro.
Cilantro. Yeah, it's probably similar to that, where some people will think that Mosaic tastes like bubblegum, and other people's will think it tastes herby or something. I'm just gonna give it gold because for me, the bubblegum
Was weird
got
enough.
in my brain, got in my head a little bit.
Totally. No, I get that. I didn't get any of the bubble gum. I thought it seemed pretty solid, but yeah, if it tasted like bubble gum,
But the body and everything else was good.
Absolutely.
Just that just threw me off.
makes sense. All right, this is the real one. So this is second place for the beers we had
Second
tonight.
place.
Let me take one more
Yeah.
sip. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Silky.
Tranquilo.
Whoa. Okay. All right. We had some different answers. Oh, this is kind of fun. I like this.
Yeah.
So I think I'll start.
So yeah.
Just with
I just want to quickly say though that when I picked these beers, I imagined that I would be bringing the Silky and you would be bringing the Tranquilo.
okay.
Like if we picked, if we'd picked them for the
If
show.
it does make sense because it does seem like the ones that we would pick and bring. Now, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about Silky. This one that we're drinking right now, delicious. This one, I really like it. Actually, no, that's how we should do it. We should just talk about the beers first, and then we'll talk about it. So let's talk about Silky first. You obviously picked it for number 1. I picked it for number 2. How I feel about it is that I think it delivers. It's good. I love the branding. It's delicious, but it also tastes like some porters I've had, and I could kind of replace it with some things. But I do really like it. It's probably on the like diamond platinum border that I don't really know which side I want to go on. I think I like this brewery enough that I could just bump it up to diamond because it is such a good beer and the marketing is so good that I would definitely go to this place just to, if I'm at this brewery, I'll probably pick up this beer, kind of, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I really do like it. I just think I liked Tranquillo more. But Jeff, what do you think about Silky?
I love it. It's really, really good. When it says oat porter, this is kind of what I'm imagining, and then this was a bit better. It is like still has flavor, which I think a lot of times people will go just for the smoothness in stouts and porters because they're trying to get people who don't drink a lot of that style to like it. So they just make it ultra smooth, but then they sacrifice flavor a bit. And I find this doesn't do that. It's ultra smooth, but it still tastes like a porter. This is probably like my second favorite type of porter or stout. For me, like I'm a big fan of, if it's a stout, it's like the Russian Imperial, the one that punches you in the mouth. We've talked about this before. That's my like absolute tops. But then if you're gonna make something that's not that, that's a little more has a little more mass appeal. This is exactly what I'm looking for. To me, this is pretty solidly diamond.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I'll definitely bump it up to diamond for sure. And yeah, good beer. Good. I do want a shirt. I do want a silky shirt for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine we tasted in a blind taste test. We couldn't see the cans. We're like, oh, God, bronze. Like, what is this?
What is this, trash? All right, so Tranquillo, Jeff, let's have you talk about the Sour Saison first.
Yeah, so this one does punch you in the mouth, which I really liked. Like, that first sip was like, whoa! The sourness and, like, the like, really citrusy right at the start, which was great. And then with these types of beers, your mouth kind of adapts to it, and so you get acclimated to it, and the rest of it just tastes like a good beer. And this one is very, very well made as well. Like, the balance of it didn't really do that thing that everyone knows I don't like, where it tastes like juice. This doesn't taste like lemonade to me or limeade or something. This is a beer for sure, but the sour, lime aspect is balanced really well, and like I said, you get that initial kick. So this is pretty much when I bought a Sour Saison, exactly what I wanted, and when the person at the window recommended it and said it has a good kick, they were absolutely right. And I think this one also is just definitely diamond for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to agree on the diamond. It's very solid diamond and feels high to me. And I think what you're describing with the lime zest, with the lime is the zest, is what I was trying to say. Is that a lot of the times it feels like the lime flavor in beer is the juice. While obviously, if you know, I work at a gin distillery, so when we use limes, we use the peel of the lime because the oils are what give you can actually taste the lime better through distillation. So I like that they use the fresh lime zest to give that kind of punch, and it really brought a freshness that I was enjoying, and also some of those bitter tones in it to this beer. And this felt like very different than a lot of... I've tasted a ton of sours, and I've tasted a ton of beers that have lime in it, and this one seemed just drastically different than the others. And I think that could be a big reason why. And I was just like you said, punch in the mouth, and then I loved it, and I was so happy with it.
I love, by the way, that punch in the mouth is a good thing.
Yeah.
Talking about beer. Like, you need the punch in the mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
You need the beer to, like, Captain Falcon you right in the face.
Falcon Punch! Maybe that's... If we make a beer, we should call it Falcon Punch. And it's like...
There we go.
Boom. Done. Maybe that's what I was missing from Silky. Obviously, Silky's not trying to punch you in the mouth. That's why it's freaking called Silky. Right.
Yeah.
But
that would be surprising. That would catch me off guard if the beer called like Silky Smooth and
it was like
punches you in the
mouth. It's like a pillow fight because it's like a silky pillowcase hitting your face. Anyway, I thank you, Jeff, for bringing these beers. These are awesome. And if anyone's out there and you want to check out Fairweather, or if you're in the Hamilton, Toronto area, go check them out. I had never heard of these until today, so I am
very impressed with Fairweather.
Very impressed. So new fan, and
they do have an Imperial Stout that they make, so I might have to go back and try that one. See if we can get a mythic beer out of them.
Ooh, I'd love... Anytime we can give a mythic beer to a brewery, I am happy with that. So, wonderful, Jeff. Let's go to closing time. I think it's time. If you want to see any of these beer cans and understand why we are freaking out about them, please just go follow us on Arena Regulars at Instagram. That's where we post all the pictures. And also just go to Twitter and follow us there too, because, hey, we say things sometimes.
What number of likes do we need before we make the beer label shirt thing happen?
I don't know. I mean, we could probably ask Fairweather and be like, yeah, that's what we should do. Let's just post something, say how many likes do we need till we can get a shirt with the bear, and they'll tell us. It'll probably be like, 1 million or something.
Oof. Well, you guys better get to liking then.
Yeah, exactly. Help us out.
And look for us on MTG Arena in the Alchemy Qs, maybe. Username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to find me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That's ZEULBERG on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, they can also find you on Saffron Olive's Twitter. I'm also on Twitter. Blues Brews MTG, BLUESBREWS MTG.
And please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, iTunes. Follow us on any place that you listen to us right now, Spotify and Stitcher. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment on our video. We do draft videos where we drink lots of beer and then try to draft decks and try to play. It's lots of fun. And, hey, just remember this episode. I wanted to say this earlier, but I'm going to say it now. Listen to some old episodes. Don't drink alone. If you're sad this holiday season or you're traveling, you're grabbing some beers and you're just waiting for your next flight, listen to some more episodes of us. Because, hey, if you're going to drink, we're also drinking. So, hey.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out our Drunken Vorthos series yet, go back and listen to those because those will be a fun time.
Yeah, they're really fun. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you to look into the spell books of the alchemy cards because, as it turns out, knowing what yours and your opponent's cards do sometimes matters.
Good night. All right, that's fine.